Hey, it's Kellen.
Tyson here.
And of course, AM.
In this episode, today, we are talking about entrepreneurship. Does it save more than it harms? Is it the problem as much as it is the solution?
This is Diversified Game.
A podcast giving entrepreneurial advice from a diverse and inclusive perspective with Kellen.
He may agree, he may oppose, and it's more than just race, it's about, ideas.
Tyson.
When you're going against the odds, you've got to be creative, you've got to innovate, you've got to stand out.
And AL.
Focus more on execution and application and less on excuses.
So, let the game begin.
Entrepreneurship, saving as much as it harms or hurts, kind of derived that mindset and that thought process because we all just happen to, kind of respect and admire Mr. Dave Chappelle, one of the funniest comedians of our time and considered one of the greatest ever. And on his recent comedy special that he had with Netflix, I can't remember whether it was the first part or the second part, but he talks about Mr. Bill Cosby, and the joke of it is he rapes, but he saves. He saves, but he rapes.
Let's not forget, I've never met Bill Cosby, so I'm not defending him. But let's just remember that he has a valuable legacy that I can't just throw away. I remember that he's the first black man to ever win an Emmy in television. I also remember that he's the first guy to make a cartoon with black characters where their lips and noses were drawn proportionally. I remember that he had a television show that got numbers equivalent to the Super Bowl every Thursday night. And I remember that he partnered up with a clinical psychologist to make sure that there was not one negative image of African Americans on his show. I'm telling you, this is no small thing. I've had a television show. I wouldn't have done that shit. Gave tens of millions of dollars to African American institutions of higher learning, and is directly responsible for thousands of black kids going to college, not just the ones he raped. Here comes the kicker. You ready? Here's the fact that I heard but haven't confirmed. I heard that when Martin Luther King stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and said he had a dream, he was speaking into a PA system that Bill Cosby paid for. Do you understand what I'm saying? The point is this. He rapes, but he saves. And he saves more than he rapes, but he probably does rape.
Really taking into account the kind of dichotomy of human nature is you can be harmful and helpful. And I think we're kind of taking that same approach in how we look at entrepreneurship, because right now it is like a sexy thing to be an entrepreneur. It's cool. It's cutting edge. You seem innovative. You're like the guy or the girl or the non-binary human being. That it's just your thing. Whereas before it used to be, oh, so that means you can't get it together. Got it. So is entrepreneurship the solution to a lot of our problems?
Here's the thing. I definitely I have the double Dutch in. I got it. I just got it. I'll say this much. Here's the fine print. It's only cool. It's only cool unless you're perceived successful. That's the fine print.
Yeah. You said, wait, say that again?
I said it's only cool unless you're perceived successful.
Okay.
So if you're the broke entrepreneur.
Yes, yeah. You're only as successful as people perceive you to be. And you could be balling. You could be doing the damn thing. You could be making all the social impact in the world. But you got that one friend or you got that one family member that don't think that you're doing shit. And that's it. Point blank, period.
Well, that's the climate that we live in. But when you have let's just say for your wife, right? Mm-hmm. If you are an entrepreneur Because there's a lot of guys who have tried to jump out and say, "Man, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur tomorrow," and your wife will, "Hey, yeah, that sounds great, but you better make sure these bills are paid tomorrow too." Um,
Right.
you know, and that it's very hard. And Tyler Perry with he put that movie out there where the guy was the inventor and he was
Mhm.
inventing since he was like in college. I forgot the name of the movie. It had Cookie in it. Um
Oh, Taraji, what movie was it?
Taraji
I Can Do
P.
Bad All by Myself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, and he was, great idea, and it was only at the end when she left did he become, this mega success, and it's true. It's cool if you're successful, but for those who are really struggling, I mean, you got to have a job, and we all know at sometimes in life you just have to have a job, because life cycles can go up and down. It's a reason why I keep a certain CDL license just to remind me, like, let me work harder or you'll be back on a truck in the oil field
Right.
or, with your own
Right,
truck.
right.
Because that's just life as an entrepreneur, and we're not the only ones who've done that. I listened to Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, and
Mm-hmm.
she said she had like 80 employees one time or something like that, but she was still working a job because $1 million ain't $1 million, and
Right,
$10 million ain't $10 million.
Right. When you got other people to pay.
Other
right,
people to
yeah.
pay tax first, million first. You got to pay
Hmm.
that 353
Right.
million. Like Erica Badu once
Jeez.
said, I ain't,
Hmm.
on Def Jam, $1 million still a nigga po, you know.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
It's cool to be an entrepreneur, but I think that a lot of folks, you gotta really want to be in that grind. To be an entrepreneur, you got to be willing to go for broke. You got to be that person with the dice at the casino and say, look, I'll go for broke, which I don't go to the casino, so I put all my money on me.
Kel said he'll leave that to me,
Yeah.
because I'm the one. I'm the one with a hot hand in a game of dice. Ashton Larian out here, since we talking Dave Chappelle status. I'll go and lose the whole bottle of lotion sometimes. You was just supposed to take out the trash, Larry. but I mean, again, I feel like the same thing. Like you've got to make sure that you're taking care of home and hearth first, right? And you also want to be, but at the same time, you have to take risks, and you have to be able to take those risks. And not all the time will it be easy to mitigate the outcome. So, you know, you have to, if you want to start a business, let's say you want to start a livery service, like there's certain things you're gonna have to pay for, you're gonna have to bite the bullet on in order to even find out
Right.
if you can be successful in the livery service business. And the thing that I want to caution people about is stop trying to not take the risks that are necessary to do what you want to do just because you don't want to lose. You have to market your product. Stop trying to not pay for marketing and then wondering why your product or service doesn't move or sell. And then thinking that it's because no one likes it or because you can't be successful with it. It's because no one knows it exists because you're too caught up on I don't want to pay for marketing. Stop. You know what I
um,
mean? Stop wanting to be this great grandiose fitness instructor and not wanting to spend the money to learn anything about the human body. Like
yeah.
it's necessary to be proficient and to be an expert at your position. Do those things that are necessary to gain that knowledge so you can serve your client the best. Because if you're not serving your client the best, then you're really playing yourself and you're playing the client, and you're going to end up out of business in that case anyways, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like the thing with entrepreneurialism, it's a great time to be an entrepreneur, but it's also it's also very dangerous.
Mm.
I find it very, very. I'm very concerned being in the space with other entrepreneurs that are trying to make it just like myself and like us. When I say myself, I mean just everything that we're doing. And while we're trying to figure our way, I feel like entrepreneurs are constantly trying to figure their way out too. But
it's all different levels.
Absolutely, it's all at different levels, and it's very difficult to try to point somebody in the direction that you think they should go in when you're trying to find your own direction.
Got you.
We're all in a cave trying to find that glimmer of light. We have hope,
right?
But how can we direct one another if we're still trying to find our way? You know,
right? I can only give you the best steps that I took, and
right,
and if those steps won't find you where they found me, well, you're gonna be where I was anyways, right? Like it's one of those things. Like I don't know. I tell you, like if you're in a dark room, which like using the kind of cave mentality, it's like if you're in a dark room and you're trying to find your way to the source of light, and you're like, watch out for that chair. It's like 2 steps to your left and one up to the right. So you told them all you did was tell them where the chair was, but you didn't tell them, like, they're gonna assume maybe they should do the opposite, and if they do the opposite, instead of bumping into the chair, they step on a curling iron. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, dang. Well, at least I told them where the chair was, though, right? But it's like, at what cost? Now they burnt their foot. So it's as much as we even give our best advice from our perspective and where we are, sometimes us telling you where we went and you trying to do maybe something the opposite or something different, you're gonna always find a different obstacle that's gonna be there.
Yeah.
So again, you can't avoid the risk, right? It's always gonna be there. The thing about it is to know how to handle yourself when that stuff happens.
Yes. Stop cutting corners, please.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The problem I find though with entrepreneurship nowadays is that you have certain people who are being highlighted on all the platforms as they know everything, and it brings me to think of the Damian Marley and Nas song "Patient." When it's like, some of the smartest dummies can't read the language of the Egyptian mummies. And, they can plant a flag on the moon, but they can't find food for the starving tummies. And it's like, these people have all the answers, except the things that matter.
Right.
If you're that, and I don't want to say any names because you can go through YouTube and you can see everyone's a guru, everyone's fabulous, everybody is just, they got their Nobel Peace Prize, but not really.
Right.
But if you have that many answers and you have that much money and you're such a humanitarian, why don't you come clean one of these cities up with all that knowledge? Because and that's what me, everyone does TED Talks, everybody wants these accolades, but just do the work, man. Do the work, and that's what I want to see out of entrepreneurship, because they say how millennials are giving this much back to great causes, but the causes is to help the dolphins, man. There's people out here who are starving. There's people out here right now, thousands of them just in Seattle in tents, while you got billionaires, talking about, you want the keys to my boat or my Porsche, and it's nothing. I'll give you 100 million. It's nothing. But I mean, can we clean up some of the least of these? Because in entrepreneurship, we're trying to steer our own path to create avenues for other people. But if you're not doing that, and you're just, you're sitting at the Rotary meetings, you're sitting at the private business club and just, eating caviar beanies on Bulgari crackers, man, drinking mineral water, like it's all just sweet. It's not,
Rico, dudes get shot out here every day. B, pull your skirt up.
Right. Kel, you bring up a good point. Well, a lot of great points rather, and and Ty and I, we talk, we draw reference to this this interview a lot, and like I love the dialogue between Sway and Kanye, but you know, regardless of how people feel about the perspective, Kanye in his pursuit to succeed was that budding entrepreneur, regardless of the heights that he ascended to as a musician.
Right.
And he hedged his bet, you know, went in as an intern, put up his own money, and it still wasn't enough. He said, I need help, I need money.
Right.
And in his frustration, it wasn't to downplay his brother or to be mad at everybody else, but it was just a level of frustration that I should be progressing that much further along, but I'm not getting there because I don't have certain resources,
right.
and my money isn't getting me where I need to be fast enough, or I'm not making enough of impact that I believe I can achieve at my desired rate.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. You got to think, if it's like that, and this is, I mean, obviously an old scenario, but it still rings true. If it's that difficult for someone of Kanye's status to achieve what he wants after achieving what most anyone else would have just stopped at, you have to think it's probably going to be a little bit difficult along the road for you too. And
right.
that it's not going to be all rainbows and sunshine and I got my own business, so now I'm a boss. BAWSE, boss. You know, you like, it's not going to be that. There's still going to be something that you're missing. And like I said, it's different levels to it. Just because you're a successful artist, musician, chef, whatever, doesn't mean that you're going to have a successful shoe store or clothing line. Those things aren't necessarily transferable. And I feel like that's the point of what Kanye was trying to get across, because what we get caught up in is, what do you mean? You're Kanye. You had millions and millions of dollars. You have a status. You have all these lucrative relationships with other celebrities. What do you mean you're having trouble achieving your goal? Because why? Although Sway has his own status, he certainly wasn't Kanye's status. You feel me?
Right.
And so it's hard for him to imagine having what Kanye has and not being able to achieve what Kanye wanted to achieve, because to him, he thinks it should be easier. It should be theoretically easier, but it doesn't when those skill sets aren't necessarily transferable, which was the issue with like his clothing line and things. They were like, you're a rapper, what do you know about
Here for
X?
our Diversified Game
Right.
1K giveaway.
You know what, Sway, my Oakland brother was really trying to get it to Kanye, and I'm totally biased because Oakland,
right,
California,
that bay.
Yeah,
that bay.
Is that, you know, what are the steps mentoring wise, and while you're calling people out, some of those people Sway knows, are you doing more harm than good, and have you got that mentorship? Because, you know, Kanye, you know, outside of the crazy antics that he's always been known for, but you know, creativity and genius and crazy go side by side. It's, who are you leaning on? Because, you know, Sway's lost money, he was trying to say, in different things. And, you know, even someone like Sway, who is an icon in his own right, I mean, he should be owning Shade 365, whatnot, you know.
4-5,
yeah, whatever it is. And, but that there's powers that be that will even stop that, but allowed, you know, Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, you know, to own it, but he hooked Sway up when it was reversed, you know, 15 years prior. And it's just, you know, people always say, okay, is M a great rapper because he's white? No, but certain doors were open, and he would acknowledge that because he was white versus his whole black crew. So, you know, does this entrepreneurship, to go back and circle back, does it help or harm if you come in with unrealistic you know, ideas to say, well, I was a great this and now I'll be a great that? It's going to harm you, because you may get disappointed and you might get your feelings hurt, and you might have to jump back into that other thing full time that, you know, you told everybody, I'm out of here, I'm just an entrepreneur.
Right.
Sometimes you got to be quiet, you know, a
Right.
silent assassin, and just bubble and double on people. And when they see you, you know, in that helicopter pad and you're doing your thing, it's like, how did he get there? Like if we think about Warren Buffett, nobody knew who Warren Buffett was.
Right.
For a while.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
follow his receipts. That's all you could follow, because he wasn't trying to be known.
Right. And I mean, I guess pretty much in that scenario, just thinking about it, it's one of those move in silence things. Don't be Dave Chappelle kicking over the trash can, talking about I'm rich, man, because you know you got Oprah pregnant, only to find out that the baby came out looking like Dr. Phil, and you like, what? I quit my job, Oprah. I quit my job. Like, you know, just do what you need to do. Move in silence. And I won't even tell people to have humility, because I feel like that's telling someone to play small in a lot of ways. But have confidence enough to hold yourself with respect to others, because you don't need to be humble in order to respect other people. And I feel like that's probably the important piece. A lot of times when people are entrepreneurs or start their own business, they forget how to respect other people because they're too busy trying to show how, or say how, you know, I have my own business, like ha ha ha, like I'm bossing up, I'm doing bigger and better things than the next person, and then they end up maybe sometimes not doing so hot. They forget the statistical numbers when it comes to who actually makes it as a successful entrepreneur, or how many years you're actually broke before you actually make money, and all these different statistics that go into it that aren't necessarily set in stone, but they exist. And then they happen to accidentally fall prey to one of those statistics, and they're shocked. You know what I mean? Oh my God, it's year 3 and I'm still failing. It's like, well, that's, to be honest, IRS says that's average. Like, like IRS said you're actually at the right point in the process. So that means keep going. Like, you know, so don't go kick over the trash cans, and don't beat your chest. Be confident with respect to the people you're telling. You know, be proud of your business. Hey, I started my own business, do this, but don't think that now removes you from their presence and means that you're better than them now, or that you must be more important or have more going on, because in reality you might be deeper in the poorhouse than they ever will be right now. Like, but that doesn't mean you're gonna stay there, but it also doesn't mean you're not gonna.
When you started laughing, I thought Dame Dash jumped on the line, like, ha ha ha. Dame is like that, where, you know, he laughs at people who aren't entrepreneurs, but I think you got to have a little Dame in you to really push through, because if you don't, this world, this life will beat you down, and so many people don't have that confidence.
Right. And that's detrimental to a lot of entrepreneurs. I feel like the best businesses that ever existed never existed.
Wow. Man, Miles Monroe preached on it. You know, the greatest ideas are in the graveyard.
Yeah, and I feel like I was talking earlier to oh my gosh, I was talking earlier to Kevin. And Kevin will come on the show, guys. So, you know, shout outs to Kev. But, and I said, do you know Michael Jordan isn't even the best basketball player in history? And he told me, who is? I go, we don't even know his name.
Wow.
Yep. And that's not to say that I actually even know who it is, but beyond a shadow of a doubt, I believe there's someone who's always better than the person we know.
Off top, but you know, all the sports and how they're highly regulated, and anybody who's played even high school sports knows there's so much politics. But then you go to the collegiate level, it's politics. Do you have this? Do you have that? And
Do you
you
look
know,
right? Are you the type of player we want to push out of our school? Are you going
yeah,
to bring in?
Yeah.
Is that going to lead to more booster club dollars, things of that nature?
Yeah.
If you're not, 6 something doing this, even if you could be the greatest player, we're not going to let you play.
Yeah.
Because you don't look like what we want to put out.
our
There's
talk
Mm-hmm.
talk
right.
the way we want you to talk, or think the way. I mean, that's why when I heard Ricky Williams was part of the Freedom Football League, I'm like, yo, because they wouldn't let Ricky just have his little,
Nope.
his little spliff and do his
Right.
thing and just let him be. I mean, you talking about greatness. He was looking at
He was
greatness.
right,
And,
staring it right in the face, and they
you're
just
throwing.
didn't want.
Yeah,
They
you're
don't.
throwing a
They
man
don't want to
off
let him have
because of something he does on his off time that now is all legal. So
it. Yeah.
I don't get it. And so yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, we don't know the greatest because they won't let the greatest. I mean, even when Muhammad Ali was the greatest, they stripped him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that was well known. Well known. So that's
Yeah.
that's I feel like that's my mentality on a lot of like the entrepreneurship helps, hurts, saves, all that stuff. It has to do a lot with having the courage, the confidence, and the wherewithal to actually step out and execute and actually bring your idea to life. Because again, like the best ideas are in the grave. We don't even know the name of the greatest basketball player. All of those things, while they are altruistically true, I think would be the correct way to say that. Altruistically, they're true. In reality, they're not. And we can only live in reality. But when we think about the proverbial stuff, it's like we need more people to step out, to step up. And if you don't have that confidence, borrow it. Find someone who believes in you more than you do. Kellen, I'll say this. I AL knows this too. I always credit Kellen as being my mentor, right? I'm always like, yeah, Kellen was my mentor, blah blah. And I was successful. I was doing what I was doing in the financial world, and I was cool, and you know what I mean. We were mentoring kids together, all that stuff. But when it came to this side of the business that we're in now, marketing, PR, branding stuff, when I first came in, I really didn't know protocols, procedures, anything. Kellen's the one who gave me 100 contracts, and he
Dang,
was
you
like, "Oh,
brought that back. Yeah,
yeah."
man. Dang.
He gave me a zip drive file of like 101 contracts that you need to
Wow.
start your business, and like a client facing business. So I had contracts for producers, studio time, management, business management, financial, and like all these contracts. It, but what I'll say is he gave them to me, and I gave those contracts, Kellen, because pay it forward. Kel always, I gave those contracts to probably like 10 different other people. I can't name any one of them who read those contracts, studied them to learn them, to then go on to do something with them.
Because
So
these
Yeah.
people are playing, man.
yeah, it's and that's where I look at it. I'm like, there's that, either they lack confidence, they lack drive, they lack something. But when I looked at it and I thought, I'm like, oh, you're gonna be like me. You're gonna be grateful. You're gonna go on. You're gonna be successful. And you're gonna be grateful to me for giving you this nugget and helping you. And I'm gonna be proud of seeing you ascend to something better than where you are today, or at least where in a direction of where you want to be. And then to see that people aren't like me, they aren't like you. They don't take the resources that they're given, study them, learn them, try to perfect their craft. I got way better at contracts. We started writing our own contracts, right?
Word.
Um,
Word.
with and without lawyers. We've argued legal cases with top broadcasting companies and won
Yeah.
without a
Yeah.
lawyer. And
Mm-hmm.
I had never dealt with a contract before I met you, Kellen, other than financial services stuff. But like management side, I had never dealt with a contract before. But from the moment you gave me those, you would have never known it. You
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
thought
no,
this kid must have been you know what I mean?
yeah.
But that's the drive. That's the drive. And so in my situation, I feel like it did save me. it did help me. But those other 10 people, I feel like it harmed them. It gave them false hope. Now they look at their reality and they're like, oh, oh yeah, life isn't meant for me. That didn't work out. Blah, blah, blah. Because they don't take the flashlight and turn it on themselves internally and say, nah, I just didn't put in the work. Nobody wants to face that.
Yeah. And you know what's sad? And the reason why I always I'll give people, and I don't care, you can people can take it, but they say, like, when you work with kids, and I've been doing that since I was in undergrad, so that was, so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hear that, when you study like psychology and the different people, that for like every negative thing someone has been told in life, they need like 7 positive affirmations.
Oh wow.
And so
okay.
we, forget being abused, forget all that the kids that we deal with in those circles, but just a regular person, the abuse and how many times they told they would not win, they would not do this and that. So I mean, we all talk to people in our industry all day, and they have the greatest stories, and you're like, oh, that's great. But then you find out they did something for $300 that you're like, and I always take AL's thing. Hey man, we ain't open up these computers. I use that every chance.
Yeah.
Tries over.
Yeah.
If it ain't $500, we're not even opening the computer.
And nowadays it's like, forget 5. What are you talking about? It's like, if it ain't got commas in it, I don't even think I can breathe around you. Like, but if I want to do it for free, if I want to do it for free, I'll do it for free all day. But if we talking pay, yeah, we gotta switch that whole game up. You know what I mean?
We don't put in too much work. Oh, and to you guys' point, definitely
too many elbows and too much grease.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have my heart-to-heart story too, and just like Ty leans on Kel. I know when I was first starting off, so I came with a certain set of skills and experience. Really stepping foot out there like full-fledged entrepreneur, I leaned on Ty, because I'll be honest, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, and there's this quote by David, I think it's David Hume, and somebody please fact check me if I'm missing the mark. It's like, no man is an island, but I often feel alone. And just coming up as an entrepreneur, just somebody that has great ambition. While you might not feel alone, but you feel lonely. And like for me, like Ty was my peer in the space.
Right.
So I was somebody that dealt with high levels of anxiety, and Ty was like, you know what? Just let all that go. Just let it go. It's going to be what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to adopt that into the entrepreneurial mindset is what allows things to progress and allow things to be what they were, and allow the success to kind of enter into the business that we all built where we are today.
Right. Hey, I like that. I'll drink to that one, and I ain't even got a cup.
Cheers to that.
Right.
So the key points for the entrepreneur that we've all said is, you got to believe in you more than anybody else, and you got to push, and you got to try to prove to your market, because everybody here has done something for free to get in the game. Even if you thought, even after the experience, you're like, you know what? My Dr. Mumbai story was, she said she needed help, and it was 48 hours after. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna help you. And then 48 hours after that, we had so many bookings for her to come to Kenya, to come to America. And then I'm like, okay, how can we make this work without, her, going crazy? Because I'm calling AL like, hey, I'm calling Tyson like, hey, she's coming. What should we do? And I'm glad we didn't overbook her, because she was tired at the end, because in the so-called whatever conscious community that's, you know, whatever we want to call the folks who are woke, these folks will come with all type of spiritual baggage that would, you know, my gosh.
Exhaust you, huh?
Yeah, from the metaphysics to ancient Egyptian to Muslim, Christian, Christianity that I ain't never seen in the Bible. So I'm like, what is that? What's Christianity? But you know, and somebody's gonna say, wait, hold on, what is he talking about? Christianity's not in the Bible, man. I'm gonna give you some money if you can
Right.
Christianity.
Show me.
It's
Show
not,
me.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Show me.
And I need it in the Holy Scripture, like the King James, Apocryphal. You bring all that. Don't bring me the NIV and them new translations that, you know, and all that other. But
show me the OG. Show me the OG.
Yeah, you know, but you got to be able to get in the game and just start. And so many people, that's the hardest part for them. There's so many books to motivate you, but you really got to believe that it's part of your purpose, really.
Right. Stop reading and do.
Well, no, they got to read because
I mean, no, I don't mean stop reading as in never pick up a book again. I mean, if you're reading right now, stop and do something active. Execute something.
Yeah, but don't stop listening to this podcast. Get the whole lesson and then
get the whole lesson and then go do something. You know, at least give it the whole episode before you go and execute with us. That's what we're saying.
Or do two things at once, because that's one key that an entrepreneur has to have. You know,
multitasking.
You got to multitask, and what you can't do, you try to hire or, you know, try to barter and do what you can, but just don't make an excuse. Don't use the word busy because you're not. You know who's busy? The single mom who lost her husband because he went to war or whatever accident, and now she's having to work, you know, 2-3 jobs, but she's making it happen. And the father too, you know, who are like that. But don't say you're busy, because there's really people who are really busy and they don't use that language.
Right. There's a and here's the thing. I feel like people use busy a lot as a nice way to, you know, postpone or push something on. But in reality, what that turns out to be is you don't have the time to deal with an opportunity. That's how you have to look at it. And that's what led, for me, I think that's the mental shift that led me to stop saying I'm busy to people. So I really think that I need to take this moment to vet this opportunity, to listen to this person, and to exchange knowledge, exchange information, or what have you, because that's when you do that, you can block a blessing. You know, hey, can I speak to you for a minute? And that minute turns into what is it? Almost 10 years later, me and Kel being friends, right? Like, that's the difference in I'm busy. I could have been too busy to mentor. I could have been too busy because I was at that time doing, you know, I was being a kid with money at that time. And I was not the most responsible person at that time in my life. But I had enough wherewithal to just take advantage of an opportunity that was brought to me by my father to go and meet this guy, Kellen, who was doing this mentor program. And I could have just said, I'm busy, because that's how I felt. Right. When I initially went, I felt in my mind, I was like, oh man, my dad wants me to go to, oh, man, I'm busy. And I was going to be busy doing nothing. But then that turns into an almost decade-old relationship. You know, it's crazy to think of what that would have been. And I would definitely wouldn't have been here, wouldn't have met you. Right. So people listening, stop saying you're busy, stop thinking you're busy, and just take the minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 20 to vet the person out, vet the opportunity, and hear out the other side, because you don't know what that may yield. You can always say no to something bad. You can never say yes to something good that you didn't hear.
And the more successful they get, the more people will, you know, try to get your time, because you could have easily said no. We needed those volunteers bad for those kids.
Right.
You know, even though they weren't, I think, as appreciative, but they're kids, you know, in the situation they were in. I mean,
the ones who got jobs were definitely appreciative, right? For because we had a McDonald's franchisee that was like, wait, did they volunteer or did they just know someone who volunteered and hooked up a couple of the kids with like a job or something like that, or interview?
Yeah, they knew it was something like that. But now when I think about it, I'm like, man, we should have been showing them that entrepreneur lifestyle,
Right?
but they were coming out of DYS or whatever custody, so anything was better, and you got to play your part. But
Right.
It's just amazing how one situation can lead to another, and because I know a lot of folks who those contracts that I got from a mentor of mine, shared those with me. And again, that relationship, if I need an issue, because that dude's done $10 million+ contracts in the industry, and I'm like, hey, I got a problem. And he wouldn't want to be known.
Right.
But we'll get him on. I know we can get him on, but he, talking about him like that, and I'm like, man, shut up. I'm behind this 40 years. You gonna start talking about me now? Like, don't do that. But because he's not in our age range at all. But you gotta share, and so many people don't want to share anything, and that's why they have what they have.
Right. That's it. You can't keep it all for yourself. Share knowledge, get knowledge.
There you go.
Share knowledge, get knowledge. Each one teach 1,000 points of light. No child left behind. I'm out.
Bam.
And a lot of children are being left behind. This school system sucks nationwide.
Oh man, and you know what? That right there, I think, is a good stopping spot, because man, we will go down a wormhole if we start talking about education on this episode. But yeah, man, I mean, entrepreneurship. Let us know what you guys think, right?
Please do.
So I think this is a good place to stop our dialogue for this episode and allow you, the listeners, to join the conversation and keep the dialogue going with us online.
You can do so by visiting our social media at Facebook, Diversified Game Podcast, on Instagram and Twitter, Game Diversified, online, diversifiedgame.com. In your life with the people around you, and/or join our Patreon and get some nice perks for being involved.
If you found a nugget and or like today's episode, you might as well leave a review. And if you leave a review, you might as well share it. If you share it, you might as well subscribe. And as always, thanks for your support.
Thanks for getting in the game and listening to the Diversified Game Podcast with Kellen, Tyson, and AL. The #1 show pairing entrepreneurship with diverse and inclusive perspectives, like wine and cheese, bagel and lox, fish and grits. Be sure to visit diversifiedgame.com for all the good stuff. Join in the conversation and discover more content.